Hello from Intellipaaat. The topic for today is career in data analytics. But before we begin, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click on that bell notification icon so you don't miss out on any updates from us. So let us head on to the agenda that we have for today. Firstly, data analytics is a very popular term, as a very popular job these days. So we're going to be discussing the trends of it. Then we're going to look at the industry view of data analytics as a job, and then we're going to look at the job description for data analyst, then the salary, which you guys I'm sure are waiting for, and the skills that are required to become a data analyst, and then eventually the learning path that is required to start your career in data analysis. So let us begin without any further ado. So let us discuss the trends for data analytics. So if we look at the Google trends for the term data analytics in specific from the year 2004, we will realize that the term data analytics was not at all searched for or looked at during those times. But eventually, over the last 16 years, we can see that the trend for data analytics has gradually risen from 0 to about like 100 with a peak at 2019-2020 beginning. So we can derive from this insight that data analytics is an ever-evolving term, and it is also one of the most popular job profiles of the decade. And the demand for a data analyst is not dwindling anytime soon. So it's one of the hot topics for this decade and probably the 21st century in general, with data science and data analytics being the most popular job. So if we move on, and we can see a survey by Gartner to understand the top 10 technology trends in data analytics. So we can see certain terms like augmented analytics, continuous intelligence, explainable AI, augmented data management, natural language processing, blockchain, graph analytics, data fabric, AI, ML, and persistent memory servers. So we can look at all of these topics that are emerging, and basically the advantage of data analytics is it could be done on a small scale as well as a big scale, and there are endless ways in which we can enhance the way we perform data analytics to be more efficient and in general fast in nature because of the ever evolving demand for data analytics, the ever-evolving trend, and how much businesses require data analytics to be efficient and fast in that regard. So as we can see, there is a quote by Gartner: by 2020, augmented analytics will be a dominant driver of new purchases of analytics and business intelligence. So in the field of business intelligence, which is essentially a subroute of data analytics, augmented analytics, a new emerging topic, a new emerging technology, which is being implemented as we speak by the year 2020, which is the current year, it would be the most dominant driver of new purchases in the field of commerce. So businesses which require big data analytics or data analytics in general would be using this particular type of analytics, which is augmented analytics, and a lot more quantity than before. So if we just look at some of the insights that we have gained from data analytics as a current job profile, as a current job term, business intelligence for commercial organizations like e-commerce organizations or product-based organizations. Data analytics is important. It's mandatory for commercial success in this competitive environment. So it is a given that every big business organization which sells a product or a service, even in that regard, they use data analytics or big data analytics in some way or the other, because in order to compete with other organizations, in order to compete with competitor organizations which are using data analytics, by the way, it is very important that every organization finds a fast and efficient way to implement data analytics in their day-to-day business cycles. So then we move on to competitive customer satisfaction as well. So the only way a customer or a client is going to take your service or buy your product is if they are being provided with customer satisfaction. So competitive customer satisfaction in the 21st century is another point. There aren't monopolies anymore in most businesses. So even if there are organizations that sell an exclusive product, almost 99% of the time those organizations will have a competitor. And the way customers decide which organization to choose from where to buy their product or service is dependent on customer satisfaction. So how does an organization drive customer satisfaction? How does an organization determine and basically move towards customer satisfaction in their business practices? So that is also determined by data analytics. So basically, if you're using Amazon, if you're using YouTube, if you're using even Google search engines, so the reason Google is the most popular search engine in the world, more popular than Yahoo or Bing, is because it has the most customer satisfying experience among all. So you might have noticed that if you've used Bing or Yahoo searches, that if you search for a particular term, you might not get the most appropriate results for that term. That is because Yahoo or Bing don't use as good as robust data analytics algorithm or a data analytics system or a regime which surpasses Google. So naturally, when we are using Google, we get a better customer experience from it because it gives us the most apt and relevant search results that we would be needing at the moment. Google does so by using a good UI, first of all, and the second thing, the most important thing, the core of it all, good data analytics and good data science in order to determine what you're actually looking for and which search results might be relevant to you, which ads might be relevant to you. So all of those things. So competitive customer satisfaction. If you are being competitive in your customer satisfaction approach, you will get the most business out of your customer. So next we have big data. So obviously data analytics is a term that is a broad term, which is basically for small data sets and big data sets. It basically depends on a lot of things. Data could be static in nature, data could be small in nature. We could be just analyzing some data that is available to us in a static format, and we're just running some processes on it, some analytics on it to determine certain insights. But in today's world, data analytics, the most used form of data analytics, so to speak, is big data analytics from a commercial standpoint. Because websites like Amazon, YouTube, Google, Facebook, all of these have large user bases, customer bases, and these customers and users have accounts on these particular websites, and they keep generating user data in exabytes and exabytes of size and continuous in nature and that way also. So in order to process this data, it cannot be done in a traditional data analytics way where we are processing static data which is of much smaller size. We need technologies that help us implement big data analytics as well. So this is a subcategory of data analytics, but the most relevant subcategory of data analytics today. So if you're wanting to get involved in data analytics, it is recommended, it is highly recommended that you get into big data as well, because in order to get into the companies that are having large customer bases today, you need to be very well acquainted with big data analytics as well, because of the large data size and the continuous data input, that continuous data flow that these organizations have. And then obviously the hot topic for today, the hot topic of today's age is artificial intelligence and machine learning. So naturally, wherever you have manual ways to perform data analytics, there's always a way to do it in a much more efficient format, which is with the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So artificial intelligence and machine learning are some technologies that are related to each other, which are basically replacing all sorts of manual work. So say data analytics is done manually up to a certain point, and then these technologies come in. You implement certain algorithms using artificial intelligence and machine learning to implement data analytics, and you basically remove the middleman from the equation. So you basically could gain your insight, gain your skills in machine learning and artificial intelligence, understand the traditions of the trade in data analytics, and implement those traditions in your algorithms for AI or ML. So in that way, you're basically being relevant in today's world by using technologies such as AI and machine learning, and still having the insight for data analytics and implementing data analytics in the most efficient way using these technologies. So you'll get the highest package if you are able to implement these data analytics using these particular technologies, because you're essentially saving your organization a lot of manual cost. Then we move on to the industry look for data analytics. Look at some industries, look at some companies which use data analytics. So Google, Bank of America, Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, and IBM. These are only some of the organizations which use data analytics in today's world. There are obviously countless organizations and companies that are product-based or service-based which use these technologies. So if basically every big organization that you see today, almost 99% of every organization that you see today that you know of that are popular use data analytics in order to analyze their customer bases and cater to the customers and drive profits, drive advertisements towards them. So this is very important. Then we basically move on to the importance of a certification in today's industry. So a certification is basically a stamp of excellence. So basically whenever you get a certification in a particular technology, when it's a relevant certification, when it's a good and credible certification, what happens is organizations are always hesitant in hiring people, regardless of the resume that you may have and regardless of the skill sets that you may have acquired. Unless you have hands-on experience in the technology that you have certification for, 99% of the time, the company would want to put you in a probation period or would want to test you before they actually give you a high package or basically hire you for a certain job role, because they are not confident they're not confident if you are capable of that particular job role. In this case, a data analytics job role. So when you get certification in a particular technology which has hands-on and project work, a company can be sure that you worked on projects and hands-on. So you're basically familiar, even though you're not an expert at it, you might be familiar with the technology. You might know how to implement it with hands-on, and that is the most important factor that comes to hiring. So it's a stamp of excellence. Essentially, it's a certification. You are certified to be well acquainted with the technology. It helps you get hired, obviously. Those two are correlated points. A substantial increase in pay. So if you are currently working in a different job profile, if you want to increase if you want to upscale your job profile, if you want to go to a higher job profile which pays more, you can obviously get a certification and you can basically apply for that high job profile in the same company that you may be working for right now, or a different company that you wish to work for in the later future, which requires you to have that particular skill. And in your own company, it could help you clear some corporate requirements that are needed of you in order to advance in your job profile or your job rank. And most of all, knowledge plus projects. So all of the four that we discussed before this were corporate benefits, but knowledge plus projects is something that you gain permanently. It is not something that you would ever lose, even if you don't get that particular dream job that you're looking for. The knowledge plus projects is something that you gain for a lifetime, and even if you don't get that particular job that you're looking for, you can still keep on working on yourself, keep on working on hands-on and projects, and eventually land another job that you might prefer more than the previous job that you were looking for. So then we move on to the job description for a data analyst. So the job description for a data analyst basically involves the usage of advanced computerized models for data extraction. So the most important thing in data analysis is getting the data to be meaningful. So basically you will have a large amount of unstructured or semi-structured data or a small amount as well. And you need to be able to take this data and convert it into a structured format. So the reason you would do this is because data can only be analyzed in an efficient manner if it's in a structured format. So it's up to you to extract that data that you may have from a raw data source and convert it into a format where it can be processed, where it can be analyzed. So that is one of the key job responsibilities of a data analyst, to convert random data into structured data. So you create some computerized models for this. Whenever you put raw data into those computerized models, you basically get your structured data set, so that it could be moved forward and then you can analyze it. So this is the first step. This is the first responsibility of a data analyst. Then obviously when you created your structured data format, you can then move on to cleaning the data. So what does cleaning of data mean? So data is not in the most ideal format every time. So even if you're converting semi-structured or random data into structured data, the data set may not be perfect because 9 out of 10 times it is not perfect, and you need to implement certain things. You need to clean that data in order for that data to not have noise when you are actually processing it, and to remove inconsistencies from it. So inconsistencies could be of 3 or 4 types, like the data could have missing information, wrong information, the data could have corrupt information as well. So all of these things you need to remove, or you need to basically implement a computerized model that solves the noise, so that you get an accurate and noise-free graph or noise-free model at the end of your analysis procedure. And then you move on to assess the quality of the data. So once you've cleaned it, you will now go on to assess the quality of data, whether the data is of value or not. So you look at it and you look at if the graph of the data is smooth, if there is no noise in it, and all of these things. You need to ensure that as well, that the data has quality, so you can actually use that data in a viable way to process your model. So then you look at the meaning of the data. So after you've assessed the quality of the data, you can now look at if the data has meaning, to basically analyze the data to determine some meaning out of that data, some insight out of that data. And then you look at if the insight that you've derived from this data is accurate or not, by cross-referencing it with some previously existing model or not. So that is also the job of the data analyst. So after you've done the analysis, it is also the job of the data analyst to create a report. So this is where the communication aspect comes in. You have to create a visualization of the data that you've visualization of the basic model that you created out of that data, and you'll create a report out of it, and then you'll communicate that report to the upper management to give them the insight that you've determined. Now, the typical sectors that basically hire data analysts, that basically are in need of data analysts, are banking, software development, consultancy, telecom. As we can see, like telecom operators have a lot of consumers, and they need to determine which consumers are experiencing difficulties, which consumers are basically opting for certain data plans or cell phone plans or telephone plans. So you basically need to analyze all of that. Which region is getting these cell phone plans, which region has the least network coverage, and all of those things. Then you have the most obvious candidate, the social media, and academic, and then pharmaceuticals also. So in order to determine basically which medicines are impacting your customer bases, which medicines are the most useful, which medicines are being bought the most, which medicines are being prescribed the most, also a topic that comes under data analysis. So yeah, then we'll look at some of the examples of the job roles that we have for data analyst related roles. So in order to be a data analyst at Spotify, you need to be basically able to understand some loosely defined problems. So they'll give you a problem, and they'll basically give you a problem statement, and it's up to you and up to your critical thinking and data analytical skills to take the data set that Spotify has and derive the insights that they need. So basically they have defined to you a problem statement that they are defined to your query basically, and they need to know the answer to that query, and you basically need to take that data, perform an analysis on it to get some statistics, and basically give them the answer that they need. That is the basic job that you have. So you can use Python or Scala for that. Like Spotify needs to have, for Spotify specifically, you need to be experienced in Python or Scala, because that is the platform that they are using. But this could be different for different organizations as well. And Pandas are SPSS and SQL are the analytics tools that they use, and they basically need you to be experienced with large data sets. So big data is the trend for today, as we discussed before, and Spotify is basically dealing with big data as well, because they have a large consumer base, and you need to possess statistical competence. So basically be good at maths and regression modeling, A/B testing, significance testing. So a little bit of machine learning, a little bit of statistics, a little bit of basic mathematics. You need to be aware of that as well. and basically be able to create data visualizations and implement statistical modeling using machine learning. So that is the job role that you have at Spotify for a data analyst. And then there's also another organization that we have the responsibilities for, that is Nike. So Nike needs a data analyst for business intelligence. So basically, Nike also has a large consumer base, and you need to be able to understand big data fundamentals, be able to clean data, validate large amounts of data. So basically, be able to create a valid data set for the Nike Cloud platform in order to analyze it. For the data scientists that Nike has, so the data analyst would forward that particular data set to the data scientist after deriving insights from it. So the data scientist can further analyze that data and determine certain unknown trends and patterns out of that data. So you need to develop processes and for the continuous evaluation of this particular data that you're receiving. And you need to create visualizations and reports for the upper management in order for the marketing campaigners, in order for the marketing team to create their own presentations, create their own plans out of the data, out of the visualizations that you created for them, so that the company can expand on their business, the company can expand on their business insights. So then we move on to the salary of a data analyst. So the part that you guys have been waiting for, the average salary, as we can see on the screen right now, of a junior data analyst in the United States is $85,000 per annum. But depending on the seniority of your position as a data analyst, it goes up until $150,000 as well. In India, we can see that the average is for a junior data analyst 8 lakhs per annum, but it could go up to 20 lakhs per annum as the seniority of your position rises as a data analyst, and up to 25 lakhs per annum in the top tier companies as well, depending on a managerial position. So if we move on to the UK, we can see for a junior data analyst, it has a decent annual salary of £40,000 for a junior data analyst, but it goes up until £75,000 as well for a senior analyst. So yeah, it basically depends on how much experience you have in your particular profession. But the next step from a data analyst could be to become a data scientist as well. So if you are a data analyst plus a data scientist, the packages are much more higher in that regard. So the skills that are required for a data analyst. So basically on the screen, we have a rough estimate of the skills that you would require on a day-to-day basis as a data analyst. So you need to know SQL because you're going to be working with structured data sets a lot, because the first job that you would require in a data analytics procedure is to convert unstructured or semi-structured data sets into a structured data set. So you need to know SQL because it is basically a structured data set language. And then we have Microsoft Excel. For any sheets, you can basically use Google Sheets as well. You need to basically be familiar with how those applications work, the sheet applications, and then obviously critical thinking. In order to basically be able to process data, to analyze data, you need to be able to critically think to figure out the most efficient way to do that. And then we have Python, R. So you can know either of them. You don't need to know both necessarily, Python or R basically, because both of them are used for data analytics and data science. So you can know any of those particular languages because they are the most popular languages in today's environment to do data analytics or data science. So Python or R, or both, if you want to be really good at your trade and be flexible at the job responsibilities that you may have. And then when you know Python and R, so you naturally need to know data visualization as well. So fortunately, in Python and R, we get data visualization tools and plugins. So you can basically use the libraries that are present in Python and R to perform your data visualizations as well. And once you derive your data visualization outputs, you can then use those data visualization outputs and basically import them into your presentations. So the second most important thing other than technical skills for a data analyst is to have good communication skills. So I cannot stress this enough, guys. If you're looking for a career path in data analytics or data science for that matter, you need to be really good with communication, because upper management does not understand technical terms. So you might be able to create a data visualization and might be able to technically frame it, but in order to convey your output, in order to convey the solution for the problem statements that have been provided to you by upper management, you need to be able to present them in a manner, you need to be able to communicate to upper management in a manner where they understand what you're trying to tell them. So presentation skills are the last but one of the most important skills that you would require in order to be a data analyst. So then we move on to the ideal learning path to become a data analyst. So if you're just starting out, if you don't have any technical experience, because most of you guys who are watching this video might be IT professionals or might be mathematicians or statisticians who are looking to change their career path. So if you're a mathematician or a statistician, the learning path for you in order to understand data analytics is not that hard, because the basics of mathematics and statistics is something that you absolutely need in order to get into data analytics. So you already have that covered. And for those of you who don't have that covered, you need to understand that. But then we move on to basic programming. So when I say basic programming, I don't mean developmental programming. So languages like Java, C, C++ that require a lot more structure and syntax are not required when you're dealing with data analytics. So any business intelligence tool, any data analytics tool using Python or R does not require for you to have a lot of knowledge about developmental programming or structured programming. You can basically begin with abstract statements, because Python and R offer some of the most easy syntaxes for people to understand. So if you are aware of the formulae and information or knowledge that is required in mathematics, you can basically understand R and Python for data analytics really easily. So basic programming is covered. Then we move on to machine learning. So this is not absolutely mandatory for you to get into data analytics that you need to understand machine learning, but it is highly recommended, because machine learning is currently the hottest topic in technology, and with organizations looking to reduce costs where manual labor is required, with basically machines wherever they can, then database technologies like SQL, NoSQL, you need to know that, because you need to be dealing with data sets, and then eventually data visualization. So R and Python libraries could be used for that. You need to be really good at data visualization in order to convey the information, the insight that you have gained from your analysis. So then we move on to the further learning section of our topic here today. So up until now, you got to know about how to get started with a data analytics career, what skills are required for data analytics. But what if you're looking for a good certification program or a good learning experience in data analytics so you can advance your career in it? So there's a quote: "An investment in knowledge always pays the best interest." So if you basically invest in your knowledge right now and get into a good course for data analytics, learn data analytics in a more structured format, you can basically advance your career at a really rapid rate, because you would know how to tackle problems and how to basically go about learning data analytics as well without wasting your time much searching for study material from unorganized and unstructured ways online. So the ways you can do it, some of the ways that you would absolutely do it is look at our community, the Intellipaaat community that we provide, look at our Intellipaaat blogs, or basically look at our YouTube channel as well. But if you're looking for a much more dwelling experience, a much more intricate experience in learning data analytics, you can basically head on over to Intellipaat.com and look at our data analytics course. So if I simply type data analytics, You'll get you'll get some results for this particularly. So right now we have our data analytics training course. So if we open this up, here we can see that the key features for this particular course that we have. First of all, the course is in collaboration with IBM and Microsoft. So the certifications for IBM and Microsoft are integrated with this course. So they are basically endorsed by these particular organizations. And the key features that we have are 92 hours worth of instructor-led training. So you'll be basically seated in live classes where you can ask live doubts from the instructor who's going to be teaching you online all of the topics that are basically in the syllabus of this particular course. And then aside from the instructor-led course, instructor-led training, you will get 112 hours of self-paced videos. So say that the instructor is going too fast, or the instructor is not covering certain topics that are required as prerequisites for this course. You can basically look at the self-paced videos for that, and you'll basically be able to learn all of those topics at your own pace and then ask those doubts from the instructor. And then other than that, we have 224 hours worth of project work and exercises. So basically the hands-on content that we have for the course is of 224 hours worth of project work. And then after you've completed your course, there is certification and job assistance. So if you've completed our course, then basically we can forward your resume, recommend you to certain employers, and depending on the interview, depending on the performance of your interview, you can basically be hired by these particular organizations. So other than that, we have a flexible schedule to say that your schedule is not matching with the instructor's training schedule for a particular day. Then obviously we can shift you to another batch so that you don't miss out on that live class. So basically a flexible schedule. And then a lifetime free upgrade, which means that if there is a significant update in the concerned technologies of the course, then the course is updated, but you don't have to pay anything extra for that. You can simply come back anytime and take the insight from the new material that we have on our course. And then a 24/7 lifetime support and access. So once you bought the course, you can basically get 24/7 support on that with your technical or any other queries as well. If we move on to the contents that are covered in this particular course, the online instructor-led courses, data science with R, Tableau is covered, which is a business intelligence tool. SAS, Microsoft SQL, self-paced courses would include ClickSense, Excel, statistics, and probability as well. And the exact things that you would exactly learn in the data analytics certification course are introduction to data analytics domain, overview of the data analytics life cycle, R programming, Tableau data visualization techniques, statistics and probability essentials, data sampling, clustering, and plotting, advanced analytics with SAS software. And the target audience for this particular course would be non-technical professionals. So if you're not coming from a coding background, you can definitely try this out, because learning R, Tableau for that matter, is pretty easy to do. And along with that, even software developers, so business intelligence and data analytics professionals could get into this course as well. Other than that, the prerequisites that are required, basically none. So you don't need to know anything beforehand when you're starting off with the course, and you can go for this course because of the salary criteria that we discussed. So a data analyst at the Microsoft Corporation, a senior data analyst, earns an average salary of $115,000 per year. So that is the top market for data analysis. So you can basically, those are certain incentives that you have, and then we have testimonials, obviously, for you to look at some of the customer reviews that we have for our courses. So you can look at those and understand. So if you want to look at the course details in detail, you can basically look at the course content as well, download the curriculum that we have. And so that brings us at the end of our session here today. But before we go, we have a special offer for you guys, especially for our YouTube audiences. If you use the coupon code YouTube30 when you're buying or subscribing to any of our courses, not just our data analytics courses, you will get a flat 30% discount on it. So be sure to avail this offer if you're looking to subscribe. And that's about it for the session here today, guys. If you want to contact us, simply contact us using the following contact details presented on your screen here today. And we'll see you again in the next session, which would be at around 8:30 p.m. IST. So remember that. Be sure to tune in again. And here are the contact details. Thank you for attending this session. See you again next time.